sustainable, winning culture that produces championships. That's why I'm here. I'm fortunate to know what it takes to create that success. A lot of hard work, a high level of commitment, and a focus on today.
That is what's known as a golf clap. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital right here live on our YouTube channel at MC Show Digital. Don't forget to like our video, subscribe, and join us live for our live shows. We're doing live shows every Monday and Wednesday guaranteed. We're going to do some pop-up live shows as well. We're thinking about maybe doing a fun Friday live kind of situation. So we'll see if we can get that in line in the next couple of Fridays and have some fun with you, something we used to do on our old radio show. It's the man-child Jim Lerch, Paul Boy Green Esden. You see him right next to me here in the box. Comments are welcome. So jump right into the comments and we'll be happy to put them on the air and talk all about them, so to speak. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports. We were just down there the other day. Play It Again, Erie Boulevard in DeWitt, in the DeWitt Town Plaza. Great place to buy gently used sporting goods. Save tons of money. Boy, Green, I was looking at some of the goods there and checking out like baseball mitts, how much money you could save. They have some nice gloves. And isn't it always awesome to get a broken in mitt? Instead of having to get one of those ones that's like totally stiff and you're like, putting all that oil on it and tying it up for days and then it's still like, So
you want some ones that want some ones that have had some battle scars, Lerch.
Some battle scars. Battle scars are good for baseball equipment.
That has a story to tell.
And by the way, you don't just go there to buy stuff. You can also bring your stuff and get cash money for it. Or you can store credit if you want to buy some stuff with that, that credit that you get. So either way, really fascinating. And right now they're looking for baseball, lacrosse, and golf stuff in particular. You can get a little extra money for those items because we're in those seasons and they're trying to keep the inventory flowing there because inventory depends on you folks turning stuff in. All right, well, welcome aboard here. We're on a Wednesday and topic A is that soundbite that you just heard. Yes, he was introduced. The New York Knicks have a new head coach, and it's official, and he had his first press conference. Mike Brown is his name. He's been on the bench for multiple championships. I think 4 rings in all as an assistant coach. That's nice. He can fill up those fingers. I mean, they all get the rings, even when you're not the head man. And then went to an NBA final with LeBron James and was swept by the Spurs back in the day. That was quite a while ago. A lot of people might not know this about Mike Brown, but he worked with Steve Kerr and he worked in that Warriors system for a while. He also worked in the Spurs system for a while. This is a guy with a lot of experience, and yet he's still, dare I say, Boy Green, youngish. I think he's kind of youngish in terms of how coaches are. I mean, that's the one thing I didn't look up before the show, but give me Mike Brown's age, Boy Green, versus Tom Thibodeau's age. I got to believe that Brown is younger. He certainly comes across a lot younger in terms of his appearance and his demeanor and so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to take a guess. Mike Brown, age 47.
Okay. I had a guess in my head, and my guess was pretty on. He's 55.
Oh, older than I thought. Good-looking guy for 55. Mike Brown.
Bravo. Of course he is.
Bravo, Mike.
Okay. Do you know how old Tom Thibodeau is?
I said I believed he was older than Brown, so I'm going to have to stick to that. So I'm going to say Tibbs is 61.
67.
Wow. Okay, he's a lot older than Brown. Okay, so there's one for you, folks. If you're happy about the Mike Brown hire, which I'm not thrilled about, but if you're happy about the Mike Brown hire, one of the things the Knicks accomplished here is they got younger at the head coaching position. Okay, they got younger at the head coaching position, but they didn't lose much experience. And let me tell you why. We were talking about this, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I rolled out some numbers in one of our broadcasts, Boy Green, but I'm going to go back to my little pad here. So excuse me for reading off the pad, but I want to make sure I get these numbers right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to look at Mike Brown, head coach, Tom Thibodeau, head coach. And could I make the case that the Knicks made a terrible mistake here by getting rid of Thibodeau and bringing in Brown? Now, in all fairness, before I read these numbers, Mike Brown has had the benefit of having LeBron James on several of his teams. He has had the benefit of having Steph Curry and the big three in, there, including the years with Kevin Durant, again, on on the teams, but not when he was actually, that wasn't when he was a head coach. So let me take that back. That wasn't when he was a head coach, but he's had the benefit of working with some really great superstars in the league. I guess that's what I want to say about this. Okay. All right. Let me give you the numbers. These are only head coaching numbers for both guys. Obviously, both of them have been longtime assistants. Tibbs was an assistant forever with your beloved Celtics, Boy Green. You might remember that. All right. So here are the numbers as head coach. Overall total record, Boy Green. This includes everything. All right. 998 and 578, a 579 winning percentage for Tom Thibodeau. Mike Brown, career, less games for sure. Again, we're talking 1,000, almost 1,600 games for Tibbs. Okay. Brown, regular, and this is, I believe, regular season only. Regular season record, 454 and 304. So only 750-ish games. Okay. But a 599 winning percentage. So Mike Brown, as a head coach, has a better regular season winning percentage than Tom Thibodeau. Let's go to the playoffs. That's what we care about, right? What have these guys done in the playoffs? What do you do when it matters? Okay, Tom Thibodeau in the playoffs, 48 and 55. He has a losing record. 466 is the winning percentage. Tibbs in the playoffs. Mike Brown in the playoffs, 50 and 40. A 556 winning percentage, 10 games over 500. Interesting stuff. Brown, a little less there, not that much in the playoffs, 90 games versus, a little over 100. So Tibbs has been in the playoffs a little bit more, but based on how many years Tibbs has been a head coach versus Brown actually a more efficient guy getting his team to playoffs. Okay. Both guys, by the way, have 2 Coach of the Year awards. Tibbs won one in 10-11 with the Bulls, and then won one with the Knicks in 21-22. All right. And Brown has 2 Coach of the Year awards in 2008-2009 with Cleveland, and in 22-23 when he took Sacramento to the playoffs.
Light the beam.
Light the beam, baby. Light the beam. All right. So they both have 2 Coach of the Year awards. And those are most of the important numbers. I mean, so in essence, I wanted to be able to, when I put these stats together, kind of tear at the idea of the Knicks replacing Tibbs with Brown. It's not dramatic, but it is better in terms of record for Mike Brown than Tom Thibodeau. So if you want to build the case that Mike Brown is a better coach, is the right coach for the Knicks, then you might be able to look at that and say, okay. I guess for me, it just comes back to Tom Thibodeau didn't deserve to be fired. And if you were going to fire him, then it needed to be like Rick Pitino being ousted for Pat Riley. Here's a guy with rings on his fingers as a head coach, multiple rings, okay? In the prime of his coaching career still at that point. Just able to work with people really, really well. That was a no-brainer for the New York Knickerbockers back in the day. I applauded that. As a matter of fact, that's when I cashed in and became a season ticket holder, which I held on to those season tickets for 7 years and watched Pat Riley and Patrick Ewing do a lot of winning. We never got that ring, but we did a lot of winning, okay? Made me go into my wallet and say, I'll invest in this team. This doesn't feel the same to me. Mike Brown for Tom Thibodeau, coming off 2 50-plus win seasons and getting them further, than he did the year before, all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair unless that guy was, I don't know who the guy is that's out there right now. Who would someone in the NBA, if we could forget all things aside in terms of their availability, it would have to probably be somebody that's coaching now. So I'm trying to think like who's a champion, who's won,
Steve Kerr
championship, multiple championships. Steve Kerr. Okay. That's a perfect example, right? Multiple championships. So, okay. You fire Tom Thibodeau because Steve Kerr is the next head coach. All right. It's a lot more than a golf clap. Now you hear my clap over here?
It's a stronger pace.
It's a much stronger pace. It's much more excitability. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I want the right thing by my team. This is, it's incremental. It's like this. And I don't know if Brown's going to be successful or not. I think that will come down to 2 things. Does he get along with this group of players? Because so much in the NBA is about getting along with the players. Of course. The players run the league. The coaches just direct. So Mike Brown has appeared to be, in his stops along the way, a pretty good relationship builder. So I have a reasonable level of confidence that can happen. The second part of it is, championships. You heard Mike Brown just talk about it in that opening salve about building a winning culture, yada, yada. And we're going to hear a couple more times from Mike Brown in this segment. He has been there, albeit as a bench coach, as an assistant coach for championships. So he's seen head guys lead his team to championships. But to me, the thing that separates the okay or the good coaches from the great ones are how they employ strategy and how they make adjustments in the playoffs. Is Mike Brown an adjuster? Can he adjust? Can he do it better than Tom Thibodeau did? Now, his playoff record says he's a little better than Tibbs. He's got a winning record in the playoffs. Tibbs has a losing record in the playoffs. So, but here's my overall take on this.
Okay.
I said this when Brown was hired. I just don't understand why you fire Tibbs for a guy like Brown. Brown, to me, feels like a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Okay?
Oh.
It's nice. Hey, everybody likes a little vanilla now and then, a hot day. I'm a chocolate guy, but I'll lick a vanilla cone. I'm okay with that. But it's not exciting. There's nothing sassy about it. There's nothing like groundbreaking about it. And if you watch that presser yesterday, and we'll play a couple more snippets, Boy Green said the Twitter sphere was going crazy. I was like, going crazy about what, Boy Green? The guy didn't say anything. He said exactly what I thought. Any introduction to we could have put that on any team, stuck him in that place, and he said the same thing. Greatest fans, iconic arena, we're going to build a winning culture. Well, you better be building a winning culture. That's what coaches are paid to do, build winning cultures. I mean, it really doesn't matter, who's who. It's about building a winning culture. Is this groundbreaking? This is getting people excited? I am so not excited. You asked me to watch that press conference.
Yeah.
And I watched it last night in its entirety. And I swear to God, it took everything that I had to not fall asleep on the pillow. To not like literally, I was like nodding off. Is he going to say anything? Is there anything here that, nothing. That thing was vanilla ice cream. It's exactly what I thought it would be. Mike Brown is a pro. He presented himself very professionally. He had the pocket square. He looked good. He said, "Oh, nice to meet you too, sir. How are you?" And he was
cracking jokes throughout.
Nice. And he had a couple of jokes in there. So, okay. But he didn't win me over as a Knicks fan in that press conference. And if there are other Knicks fans that disagree with me, I want to hear from you today. Well, let's hear from you. Throw it in the comments. I want to hear from you. What I saw was exactly what I thought I would see. Vanilla bleeping ice cream.
So just to start off, I have a question. How important is winning the press conference? How important is the sex appeal of the hiring of Mike Brown versus whatever the results end up being, which Knicks fans seem to care about, going another rung higher on the ladder, which is going to the NBA Finals for the first time this century? Isn't that what's most important? While it would have been cool to hire, Jay Wright or whoever the sex appeal guy is, And
John,
Pep's right.
John, by the way, throwing up vanilla is the base of all ice cream. Well, that's true, John. It's true.
Foundation.
Again, results will tell.
Sure.
I remain a dedicated Knicks fan. That doesn't change. But I'm disappointed the way the Knicks exited Tom Thibodeau, regardless of how this goes, and the way they've handled this, and the search process. And I said it when they fired Tibbs. I said, okay, I can buy it. We talked a little bit, even with some of our insiders, about is Tibbs the right fit for this team?
The rotation to the next
level, right? The rotation. We can talk about it all day, right? He's just playing guy, especially in a regular season. What are you doing?
Adapt or die, man.
Yeah, what are you doing in a regular season, Tibbs? Just running your guys into the ground. Regular season games don't matter. Don't matter at all. Thank you, Dade County McFly. Mike Brown, all hype. Okay, so he thinks he's all hype. I think a little of that too. Although again, it's vanilla ice cream for me. It's just vanilla ice cream. So I just don't like what they did with Tom Thibodeau, but I'm going to try to be the optimistic Knicks fan here and hope that this works, that people get along better now. I mean, let's face it, Tibbs was no dynamic guy with the media. I mean, the guy's like a little curmudgeon. He's like it's almost something a little freakish.
Or a hobbit
I know. He's a small guy, so we get a little insulting in terms of his looks. He's a freaky looking guy, but I respect him tremendously as a basketball mind, and I particularly respect him tremendously as a motivator of players. I think he pushes his players really hard. He squeezes every drop of juice out of that orange. And I think the other thing that he does is he's obviously very known as a defensive coach. And it's interesting because he coached the Knicks to, I think, the 5th most efficient or the 5th best offense in the NBA last year. And I was like, where's the defense? This guy's supposed to be stopping people. They couldn't stop anybody during the regular season. They lost to all the good teams, as we know. I mean, they had a terrible record, right? And they had like no wins against like the top 3 teams in the East. But Tibbs did get that defense cranking into playoffs, and he did have that team digging in. And I kind of had faith that he would. And then it was the questions about, is this offense right for this group, and so on and so forth, which I think is a fair criticism. But by the numbers, Tibbs had a fantastic offensive season with this team last year. You can't debate that. So did the guy deserve to be fired? We just keep coming full circle back to the same thing over and over again.
2 things here. First off, Lerch, after hearing the introductory press coverage yesterday with Mike Brown, did you renew your New York Knicks season tickets? Did you get those back?
I did not. Okay.
Well,
number one, they've priced guys like me out a long time ago.
Right.
I do not have a multi-million-dollar corporation and just let's get the old luxury box or the the good seats for the company. We'll take our clients out there. Yeah, there's none of that. I would not these days be able to afford Knicks season tickets like I was many years ago.
Okay.
No, Mike Brown does not even get me off the couch.
He may not have gotten you off the couch, but he called you out yesterday, Lerch.
Did he?
In the press conference.
I
Let's
didn't
go
catch this. So what was it about? Go ahead, play it.
He gave you a shout out. Let's go.
You talk about a historic franchise, Madison Square Garden. It's iconic. Our fans, they're the most knowledgeable and passionate, probably in all of sports. There's a lot of work to be done. We have an outstanding roster. What they did in the playoffs shows their potential. I've had great conversations with all of our players, and I'm looking forward to growing positive, strong relationships with all of them over time.
Knowledgeable and passionate Knicks fan you are, Lerch.
He's not telling me anything I don't already know. And by the way, some of the Knicks fans are just, frankly, and I'm a diehard Knicks fan.
Oh boy!
But here I go. I'm going to go at him here. Some of the Knicks fans are flat out of their minds. They overreach. We're constantly talking about scenarios that are never going to happen, like the latest, like LeBron coming to New York. LeBron is not coming to
the
New
Mecca.
York. How many times over LeBron's career are we going to discuss LeBron seriously considering the Knicks?
There's
a
chance.
Guy has never seriously considered the Knicks.
Now's the time.
Ever.
Now's the time.
Let it go, lunatics. Okay, let's live in reality, not fantasy land. There are reality Knicks fans, and some of them are quite knowledgeable. And then there are Looney Tune Knicks fans, and I don't want to be cast with that lot. Please, don't put me in that bucket, Boy Green. I don't want to be there.
The trade rumors, right? Did you hear the Cat rumors, the Mitchell Robinson rumors? You know, there's some rumors out there.
I'm not sure what this team's going to do in terms of its current players.
Sure.
I like the couple of players that they added in free agency. I think Clarkson actually can be a very useful player for the Knicks. I think they were looking to upgrade a little bit at that guard and that 2-guard position and be able to give, to have somebody out there that you could trust when Jalen Brunson's not on the floor. So I'm okay with that. I don't know, Karl Anthony Towns. To be honest with the Boy Green, I wouldn't be my heart would not be broken if they decide to part company with Towns. Now they got to get something back that makes a lot of sense. But, he had some real worrisome moments with the Knicks. I'll put it that way. I mean, some real what were you doing there? The ridiculous fouls in the playoffs, the silly fouls. It just seems, I know he's a big guy and big guys don't have the stamina of little guys, but it just feels a lot of times like this guy gets tired a lot, and then when he gets tired, he becomes a really bad defender because he just reaches and flops and, awkwardly
very lethargic,
very lethargic, kind of look to him. Look, he's a 7-foot guy, so I'm not going to pick on him. But I do think, he could get into the LeBron program a little bit, in terms of off-season conditioning, because, he should be the kind of guy, because of his size, that works awful hard to be like primo conditioned, come start of the regular season. And hopefully this off-season he's working at it.
And the Knicks added another guy, 6'8", 265 pounds, Gershon Yabazule. Yeah, they added him.
He's an interesting guy. He's got size and he looks the part. He really looks like one of the. But they got they have other guys on the bench that look the part too. And then when you see them play, you're like, now I understand why Tom Thibodeau wasn't playing some of those guys all that much. So they needed to deepen that bench. And I don't know if there's a big move for them to make. I think if there is a big move for them to make, it would likely involve moving towns and then bringing in a different type of guy in that position. And then you have to wonder, I guess they kind of have gotten a couple of big guys here, serviceable big guys, but, Mitchell Robinson holding up for a whole season. I mean, basically we haven't seen that, since like his first year or two in the league. I mean, so to depend on Mitchell Robinson to be an everyday player for you, whether that's starting player or not, yikes. I mean,
but
that scares me.
You guys have the chance to finally get it right with a French player. You had Frank Ntilikina, and that didn't really work out. And now you have Yabusele, who is a Frenchman. So
I don't know why we love the French. Maybe it's the croissants. Maybe it's the baguettes. I don't know.
Perhaps.
But we do appear in New York, in Knicks world, to like French people.
There you go.
French basketball players.
Yeah, we'll work one more Mike Brown one in here, Lerch. This is on Mike Brown talking about the expectations, and that was the joke Rick Pitino made when he was joining Michael Kay on the Yankees broadcast, and he said, "Hey, would you take the job?" And Pitino's like, "What? Go to the NBA Finals to meet expectation? Yeah, no thanks. I'm good." And
Mike Brown doesn't seem scared of that. Go ahead.
He does not. Here you go.
Just kind of what it is for you coming into a team that's reached the conference finals, the expectations you're stepping into.
Well, there's nobody has any bigger expectations, first of all, than I do. My expectations are high. But this is the Knicks. I talked about Madison Square Garden being iconic. I love and embrace the expectations that come along with it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Lerch, this is the Knicks. You saw him shrug his shoulders and, hey, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. Look, the pressure's on. And this guy is not going to have an incredibly long leash if this team doesn't produce. I can't see it going more than 2 seasons if this team doesn't really show progress.
So do you think the Knicks made the wrong hire?
It's hard to say. The answer is, based on the other guys that were out there, I would say yes. I would have rather had Mike Malone, for instance. I think I would have even potentially. I don't know a ton about Finch, but he's also a younger guy. Worked with a young roster. I thought he did some pretty good things. So he's interesting to me. I wish I really knew more about him. And the guys that I would have really wanted weren't available. Like Ime, I'd love to have him.
Of course.
Ime Udoka, I'd love to have him. I think he'd be great, but he's got a team, and they made a whole bunch of moves themselves. They hope to be contending for an NBA title in Houston this coming season. So,
but you're missing an obvious name, Lerch. An obvious name.
What's the obvious name?
I told you at the beginning of this.
It's not Frank Vogel. Who is
Mark Jackson. He was the name. Coming home. He was a former Knick. He was a Rookie of the Year. He was the guy. He was the guy that set up the Golden State Warriors, and then Steve Kerr took his lunch money and won a bunch of championships on Mark Jackson's back.
I didn't love that when they did that to Mark Jackson, just like I'm not loving this Tom Thibodeau move all that much, because Jackson was successful, and they made a decision, he can't take us to the promised land. Now, in their case, the guy they got did. So, okay, problem solved.
Off of what
you
Jackson
don't have any,
did.
You don't have any second guessers. Yes and no. I mean, I think Steve Kerr brought plenty of things to that job that Mark Jackson didn't have. I think there were some inner rumblings in Golden State about how the players and Mark Jackson were interacting on a daily basis. I think sometimes when you're not inside the organization, and you're only getting it from the outside, what the press conferences give you, what maybe some of the beat reporters are able to provide for you, you don't really always know the whole story. And I just always felt like the fact that they were even looking into this and then obviously they chased it down, to me just reeks of something internally people weren't getting along. I like Mark Jackson. When I was a season ticket holder, he was a Knick. Okay.
Right.
I got his autograph a number of times as a fan. I mean, he's got a religious side to him. He's a man of
Sure.
faith.
Yes.
And he speaks of God and faith a lot.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of coaches like that. I'm not criticizing for that. I'm just saying that's kind of who he is. He went to Bishop Laughlin High School in Brooklyn. So he's
Yeah.
got absolute New York roots, New York City roots, true and true. He knows a lot about what the Garden's all about. He played there as a player.
Mhm.
There's a lot of there. I guess the thing I wonder with Mark Jackson is the reason I wouldn't hire him at this point is because he's been away too long. I mean, I think it's been 10 years or 11 years. So, and then what is that all about? Has Mark Jackson truly been blacklisted by the NBA? Or has Mark Jackson in some way, while being perhaps blacklisted, at least for the moment or for the last 10 years as a head coaching candidate, was Mark Jackson too prideful to maybe join a squad as an assistant coach? Because usually the path, if you fall out of the head coaching job, unless you're somebody that, has done it for a million years, like Tom Thibodeau, he can just keep reinventing himself in a new place that's looking for another Tom Thibodeau. But Jackson had that one run. And then, boom, he disappears off the landscape, other than, obviously, we saw him in the broadcast for a while.
Sure.
Something's up there, and I don't know what it is. Did Mark Jackson just say, I don't want to go back into a subservient role here and be somebody else's assistant? I did the work of an accomplished and a good head coach, and I'm not going back to that bench unless I'm a head man again. And then obviously nobody has given him that chance, which I find to be a shame, because you think of all the guys that have been hired by all the teams. I mean, come on. You can't tell me that Mark Jackson isn't better than 50% of those candidates. Maybe the number's even higher just based on his track record. So I don't know what's going on there. And I have not spoken to a single insider, Boy Green, that's convinced me that they know what happened. Why is Mark Jackson not, a head coach in the NBA, or has gotten a head coaching opportunity in 10 plus years? I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Okay. So are you a Mike Tomlin fan?
Yes, I am. I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan.
Okay. Steelers guy, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what the criticism was of Mike Tomlin early in his career?
I don't.
He took over for Bill Cowher's Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
and he won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And people believe that Mike Tomlin won a Super Bowl, Bill Cowher's team that Bill Cowher put together. And then ever since, he obviously has not had Bill Cowher's roster, because Bill Cowher left a long time ago, and he hasn't won a Super Bowl.
Okay.
That's
Fair
how.
enough. Fair enough.
We go to Mark Jackson, and his final year with the Golden State Warriors was in 2013-2014. They were 20 games above 500. They're 51-31, second in their division. They went to the playoffs. They lost in the first round.
Right.
The Warriors fired Mark Jackson and hired Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr in his first season won the NBA Finals. You can't tell me that Mark Jackson had nothing to do with the roster that was put together immediately months
after. Totally fair. Totally fair to say that.
Wins the championship.
Right.
So
totally
again,
fair.
he deserves credit for what he invested into this or Warriors team rather, that got all the way to that point. He didn't get a ring shipped to him that I'm aware of. That's what I'm saying. Just the resume here, coming home, and all of that.
Let me ask you this, though. I mean, have you heard? We've talked to a lot of NBA insiders over the years, a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Have you heard a single, tangible, believable reason why Mark Jackson hasn't gotten another chance?
I have not. I've heard them go in circles every time I ask. So what's the reason? They're like, this shady reason that they can't really explain. And I'm like,
right. It's just kind of this cryptic thing. Like,
yes.
What
very
happened?
much so.
Something happened. But I don't know what it is, and I don't know where to place the blame. Therefore, I'm not going to speculate and say, what's wrong with these people for not hiring Mark Jackson all these years or giving him a shot, although I do think something's wrong with them for not giving the guy a shot. But if it is something that just, reeks of some ugliness, then it would be a lot more understandable. And it might be better for Mark Jackson if that, skeleton in the closet exists, that it never comes out. I know Mark Jackson spoke, and this is where this conversation is leading. So Mark Jackson, we haven't heard a lot from him. The Knicks didn't interview him for this job.
They did not.
Even though he's a former Knick, he's got all that pedigree. There are a lot of Knick fans saying, go talk to the guy, at least give him a shot. Hire Mark Jackson. He was on a jog yesterday.
Yes.
Right around the time of this press conference.
Yeah, the introductory press conference. He was responding to the presser.
Let's take a listen to what Mark Jackson had to say. It was popping all over the Twitter sphere. Go ahead.
To whom it may concern, blessings. You're more than qualified. Your resume says you're more than qualified. Your body of work says you're more than qualified. So it's easy to get depressed. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get down. It's easy to have doubt and start questioning. I don't know who I'm talking to. You done prayed about it, asked about it, and it didn't happen. Well, it didn't happen for a reason. The worst place to be in this world is outside the will of God. Don't miss your shout. What's yours is yours. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's enough to run on. I gotta go. Blessings.
You see all of that religious nature. Mark.
That's true. That
He's
is
a faithful guy. He was always that way. I remember in press conferences when he was a Knick. I remember having actual conversations with him outside the garden, and he was that way. He was very much kind of a God-fearing guy. A very man of faith. Definitely a man of high faith.
And it sounds like, Lerch, if you listen to that video, he was praying and hoping that he got an opportunity to at least interview for the job.
Read between the lines if you even have to. I think there's a lot of literal in it. But what Mark Jackson was saying was, he wanted a chance. He wanted a shot at this. He wanted a swing at this job. And he was incredibly disappointed that the Knicks did not elect to speak to him, did not elect to consider him. He has stayed ready. His resume shows that he is capable, more than capable, of running an NBA franchise as a head coach. And he's not getting opportunity. But then he kind of, at the back end, said, hey, it's God's will. And I'm willing to say that whatever God has in store for me, that's what it is. So I'm not going to cry about it. I'm going to stay ready. And maybe, hopefully, some point, I'm putting words in his mouth a little bit here, that opportunity comes my way. But there's great disappointment in what Mark Jackson is saying there. There's no question about it.
Well, let me say this, and thank you, Philly Noodles, for the super chat coming in here for $2. Thank you very much, Philly Noodles, 631. BG, from your mouth to God's ears, Brown year one title, LOL. And I would say this. If Mike Brown does the same thing as what we described with the Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr situation, where Jackson gets fired, a new guy comes in, immediately wins a championship. So Brown to Thibodeau in this particular case, they better send Tom Thibodeau a ring. He better have free drinks for life in New York, because to do what he did this past season, to take the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a quarter century, and then for the Knicks to then get over the top the following season, how could you not see Tom Thibodeau's imprints, fingerprints, and everything else all over this roster and team? Because I don't expect sizable changes to this roster, Lerch, from right now on July 9th to fast forward to the season in a couple of months. I don't anticipate seismic changes. A lot of this roster is this roster, Lerch.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with the cap and everything else. The apron situation where the Knicks are at right now. They've got the biggest thing, I think, on the Knicks horizon is settling the Mikal Bridges thing, because he's going to be up for a contract after the season.
Correct.
And the early word last year when Brunson signed his re-up with the Knicks, the extension, is that Bridges was going to do exactly what Brunson did. He was going to give him a hometown discount, and he wanted to stay in New York and play
keep
with
everyone
his
together.
Yep. And now, it seems like, I don't know. He hasn't said anything publicly, but the word is leaking out that Bridges might not feel that way, that Bridges wasn't getting as much run as he wanted. He wasn't getting enough. He wasn't putting up enough shots because there isn't enough ball to go around on this offensive-minded Knicks team. So I don't know whether that stuff is true, but it does tend, when rumors like that tend to leak out, they tend to be true. So is there some unhappiness with Mikal Bridges, and can Mike Brown, mend that fence and then essentially get Bridges to sign, for a reasonable amount of money? Because if the Knicks have to pay him max money, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. And frankly, you can't pay that guy that kind of money.
Or Bridges, you used 5 first-round picks. I can't believe that. You used 5 first-round picks to get him.
Yeah.
Isn't he still worth 5 first-round picks?
Let's draft day it up, Boy Green, and we get our picks back. We want
all
all
our
of them.
Picks back.
Plus, we want David Putney.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
get Putney. Get Putney. So who's the Putney for the Knicks? They need to get a Putney. Might be possible. Thank you, Philly Noodles.
Yes. So,
That's too bad for Mark Jackson, though. I feel terrible for him.
I feel
was a
very
big
bad.
fan,
I
want him to get an interview
for Mark Jackson too.
Yeah,
and I don't know what it is. I wish I knew what it was, that aside from Steve Kerr being out there, because again, Steve Kerr at that point was not Pat Riley. He didn't have multiple rings on his hands and was available.
Well, I guess he did. Okay. Well, he did. The Bulls.
Yeah,
he did have multiple rings on his hands
as a player. But it's a very, very
Right.
big difference between a coach and a player. So,
Sure.
so that was a true leap of faith. And it lends me to think that something was up there, that something just wasn't right. If you just want to, maybe we could just leave it as simply to, rather than try and put rumors out there of nefariousness, that the organization and Mark didn't have the same vision. And therefore, they said, we're going to go a different direction. We're going to get a different guy. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what the Knicks are trying to say here, is that Tom Thibodeau was a very good coach and he got us very far. We don't have the same vision. And I think, and it seems like if there were problems with that vision, the vision was that this guy runs his players into the ground during the regular season, and that's not good to win championships. You can't do that and win championships. And maybe Tibbs was very stubborn and said, I don't care. I'm trying to get wins. I care about my reputation. I care about what my record is, and maybe they just couldn't get on the same page. That's my guess, because the guy wasn't deserving of being fired. It has to be philosophical differences or the wackiest owner in all of sports. I've called him the worst owner in all of sports, and I will stick with that. He's right up there. If he's not the worst, I know we got the A's guy now. He's pretty awful. And we got some other really bad people that have come along. But James Dolan, to me, doesn't know his butt from his elbow, so to speak. And he ought to stay out of things. And that's what he has been doing recently. And they've built a terrific roster. So if he starts getting involved again, which the rumor mill says he may have had his hand in this, then that just spells disaster for us Knicks fans. Absolute disaster.
We are streaming live in 3 different places right now. The Manchild Show Boy Green digital Facebook page, the Manchild Show with Boy Green YouTube page, and my YouTube channel at Boy Green 25. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. Real quick, Lerch, what time is it?
It is 12:37.
No, it's Dame time, baby. It's Dame time.
Dame time.
Billy Noodles 631 sending this one in on YouTube. I think if Damian Lillard was to get healthy, he could be the greatest later season pickup for the Knicks. For those who missed it, Damian Lillard was on the Milwaukee Bucks, of course, after being traded over from the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Bucks decided to stretch and wave, which sounds like some sort of a workout routine of some kind, but the stretch and wave Damian Lillard so they could pick up Miles Turner in free agency from the Indiana Pacers. Right. So long story short, Damian Lillard gets all his money right now, and he can either rehab and somewhere else and sign with the team next year when he's healthy. He blew out his Achilles in the playoffs, or he could sign for like the veteran minimum and just try to ring chase this year and then sign with somebody else next year. So Philly Noodles says Dame time, New York Knicks. Lurch, your thoughts?
Well, the number one thing in that whole quandary, and nothing wrong with it, I like the sound of it, because he could be a great addition, is will he be ready? He had a very serious injury, so we'd have to double check on the timetable. I mean, stranger things have happened, but his injury seemed like it's likely going to be all of this season. But if the rehab goes well, maybe he could be a late season addition, and maybe with not having to play the role that he's normally played and just be a playoff contributor and a guy to make big time shots. It's possible. But I think it's all, for me, that's all on Damian Lillard's health and whether he's actually ready. Because he's not going to risk what little career he has left, what years he has left.
But he's older,
I'm thinking, I kind of guess on Lillard here, I'm thinking he's about 34, 33.
I think he's older than that. I think he's 30.
Oh,
let's see. Okay. No, he is 34, but he turns 35 in 6 days.
Okay. All right. So he's about to turn 35. There's still some gas in there, assuming he gets well. So yeah, but it's just a few years. So, if you want to get him, he should look, now that he has the freedom, he should look for a team that's ready, to put a ring on his finger. That's what I would do if I were Damian Lillard. Try to find that team. You're getting paid for the next 3 years, a ton of dough. So money isn't your issue. It's just now get a ring. So he's in a great position if he gets healthy to join the Knicks or any other really good team out there and chase a ring.
For sure.
That idea.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions and comments, everybody. And keep those coming. We'll try to interact with those throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah, and by the way, don't forget to like our video. You can click on that little thumbs up and subscribe at MC Show Digital. That's our Facebook. And you see it for all of our social media, but that's, on
YouTube channel.
On YouTube, excuse me, our YouTube channel, where we really want to build up our subscriber base. As a matter of fact, you see behind me, Boy Green, I put it up there purposely. Let me get my thumb. That guy right there, Jim Boeheim. All right.
Yeah.
I told you we had a number of really cool things on the walls of our radio studio, and we packed up a radio a couple of weeks ago, and now we are a digital only product. And I said, we're literally going to essentially raffle off those things that were on the wall. I have no place for them here. I mean, I got a home studio now, man. I don't have time. I don't have enough walls in this home to put all this stuff. Plus, my wife wouldn't really want me to. So anyway, that Jim Boeheim, and that's not just a paper poster, by the way, Boy Green. We have 2 of them. The other one's autographed. I'll put the other one up in a couple of days here. That is, it's like a vinyl material. It was specially made. It's a one of one. Okay. It's a one of a kind. It was made many, many years ago for a radio station I used to work for. And I was able to acquire it at the end of my tenure there. I know how to do that, and brought it with me to hang in our future studios for other radio stations. Anyway, secret's out now. I'm in big trouble. So I think all those bosses have now been fired. So I think I'm okay.
Great. We're good. The statute of limitations.
Nobody knows that back history about me.
Right, there you go.
But anyway,
we're giving away a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and including that Boeheim poster.
Other side,
do the weatherman.
Yeah, there you go.
Getting better with it. All right. So very, very cool vinyl poster. Very cool. Fills a big piece of wall. It's very, very large too. I'm gonna say it's like 3 feet by 4 feet. It's pretty big. And
what other stuff do we got, Lerch?
Oh yeah, let me show you one of the coolest things. I think we're gonna do this maybe as our first item, Boy.
Oh,
all right. I know that we have some Jet nuts in our audience because I know you pushed this out to your Jets channel. But I know there's got to be some Giants people, right? So here it is, a David Tyree, the catch, autographed framed photo. Look at that. That is David Tyree's autograph. I collected that myself. And that is indeed him pinning that ball against his helmet. Okay. So this, including the frame, is going to go out the door to a lucky new subscriber. So if you're one of our new subscribers, you've subscribed since we've started the channel, consider yourself in. And Boy Green, next week, I think maybe we'll make an announcement about when we get to this many subscribers.
Yes.
Then boom, we're going to pick that name essentially out of the hat, and we're going to ship that off or drop that to whoever wins it. So David
so it's
Tyree
free.
Autographed the catch. Free, baby. Free
to subscribe. So keep spreading the gospel. Once we reach certain mile markers, again, we're at like 160 subscribers right now on the @MC Show digital YouTube page. So Badshaw says, hell, I'll take it. And I'm a Jets fan. So there you go. Okay, right. Sure. To me, it's a cool piece of history. Behind me, I have it right here. There's the autographed David Tyree book. And then behind this is a David Tyree autographed football. So, he's a Syracuse product. So salute to David Tyree. But it's cool to have just NFL memorabilia. So again, if you are one of our subscribers, you're eligible. But once you reach, because we're trying to grow the channel, so once we reach a certain subscriber account, we'll give you that update next week. You guys will have a chance to win a lot of cool prizes, starting off with that David Tyree autograph picture next week.
Hey, and just a little story I'll tell, since we're talking about David Tyree and the catch and everything. So I'm a diehard Giants fan, all cards on the table.
Sure.
Boy Green and I have made an interesting pair in the radio world over the years, and then we're going to carry this now into the digital world, that I am diehard Giants and he is diehard Jets, and we go to battle sometimes on this.
We do.
And so anyway, long story short, a number of Christmases ago, I had for years expressed to Boy Green, I had acquired I had acquired probably about 6 or 7 of them at the time. So when I was the boss of the radio station, the program director, as they call it, I had made a contact with the manufacturer and a PR company that was working with the manufacturer of the footballs that are actually used in the Super Bowl. I'm talking about the actual footballs.
Not just a random football.
They make about 250 or 300 footballs. At least back then they did. I don't know. Maybe that number is even bigger now. Let's say they make 300 footballs. All right. And a bunch of them will never get used. And this guy had acquired a bunch of them. And he reached out to my radio station and me and said, hey, if you would do some promotion for us, some free pub, essentially, I will give you a batch of these footballs that actually were footballs that could have been used in the Super Bowl. They have the logo of both. It was the year of the Giants Patriots. So Giants logo, Patriots logo, the Super Bowl, the date. I'll pull it. I have it here, obviously.
Oh, cool.
I don't have it right near me. I was
no.
around the room. I had it in this studio room that I'm in, and I've moved it somewhere. So I'll have it for one of our future broadcasts. I'll show you the ball. All right. So I kept one. I gave away the other 5 or whatever it was to the listeners, and then I kept one. And I told you, Boy Green, way back when we first were just meeting each other, and you were still interning for me probably at the time. I said, I have this ball from the Super Bowl. It's the actual Super Bowl ball. And what I want to do now that that Super Bowl has happened and the Giants won and they beat the undefeated, Patriots, and we saw the helmet catch.
17,
I want to get,
14, yeah.
I want to get 2 autographs on that ball, and then it will be like my lifelong thing, my lifelong trinket that I'll never give away. And it was Eli Manning, the man who threw it, and David Tyree, the guy who caught it. Now, Tyree used to play for Syracuse, so we know David Tyree. I've known him for years. I've interviewed him forever. So I had full faith that I could track down Tyree
one day
and get him to autograph this ball with one of those beautiful silver markers, that you do the nice autograph, big full panel autograph. Okay.
Yeah.
But I said, somehow I gotta figure out how I'm going to get Eli Manning on the same ball because he's a little tougher to get. I don't have a relationship with him. Other than going down there as a dopey fan of training camp or something, you can't go in with a press credential and say, hey, Eli, I got a ball here.
That's illegal. Right.
Totally. Yeah. You could get thrown out for stuff like that.
Yes.
So even though I'm connected, dare I say, in the media world, you can't do stuff like that. So this was for personal reason, personal, collection. And so I wasn't able to, I was trying to figure out that predicament. And then before I got it autographed by even Tyree, Boy Green snuck into my house, got my wife to find this ball, which was in a box in my basement. It was not like out on display because it didn't have autographs yet. It was just a ball that was packed away in a box. He tracked it down, pulled it out of my basement without me knowing, sent it off to a guy that we know that works with the Giants, and he got both. How coincidental is this? The day he receives this ball, all right, that Boy Green is now going to give to me as a Christmas gift, my own ball, now autographed, doing for me what I wanted to do for myself. He gets this ball. The day he gets it, David Tyree is just in the building. Now, Eli's in the building every day because
he was still on the Giants.
He's still on the Giants. But Tyree was like doing little odd jobs for the Giants and stuff. I don't think he was working full time for the Giants or anything. So he would not have expected to be in the building.
No.
And yet that day he was. And so Boy Green's buddy got both autographs. Beautiful with the silver pen, gorgeous, And then he gave it to me in a box for Christmas. Arguably one of the best Christmas gifts I've ever gotten. And I have it on display in my living room.
But I was worried, though. I was worried, Lerch.
What were you worried about?
Well, I'm stealing your giant Super Bowl ball. You don't have any more of them that I'm aware of. So what if a shipping error happens?
Yeah,
what if
this ball doesn't come back? Who knows? Yeah, crazy stuff could happen, right?
And first off, I was championing the help of your wife, and she gave me the wrong football at first because you have a lot of footballs apparently at your house.
Oh, my God.
So I'm trying to describe it to her. No. It's a specific. It's not just any football. Specifically, this football is the one I need.
Right.
And then I got to get it to my buddy, and I have to get it to him in a very short window, and I have to ship it to him a certain way.
Right?
There's all these rules, and so she gave me the wrong football. I'm like, no, not this football. I've seen it once at his house before. I know what it looks like. It's this. And ultimately, we were finally able to get that ball out, give it back. Now, the problem is, and it's the same thing that's like above my head here, right? So you do a gift like this, and it's too small. I'm going to get a bigger version of it. But my dad meeting Brett Michaels was like the greatest moment of his life.
Right. Very cool.
But it's all downhill from here. How am I possibly ever going to top this?
Yeah,
so the Giants football, sweet. Lerch is a happy man. I heard that he wrote in his will that he's going down 6 feet under with the ball in his hands, securing it high and tight as he was taught as a young tyke. But now I can't ever top it, so it's all downhill from here, George.
I don't know if that ball goes in the coffin with me or not. Interestingly enough, this is kind of a sad story, but a true one. I'll share it just because you mentioned it. But
sure.
I lost a friend here in Syracuse years ago. He was killed in a tragic drunk driver accident. Horrible story. And he and I, he was a big Giants fan and a big sports fan. And I knew how much the Giants were his number one overall sports team.
Sure.
And so I reached out to the Giants that just did this personally, just did this on my own when after he was killed. And I said, is there any chance that you could get me? Tom Coughlin was the head coach of the Giants at the time. Could you possibly get Coach Coughlin to autograph a ball and send it to me? My intention is to give this to his family and for them to do whatever they want to do with it. My thought was that maybe they would put it in with them. Sure. And the Giants, I couldn't believe it. They came through for me. They got it out to me within a couple of days, and I had it in my hands. I was like, wow. The Express shipped it to me. And I got the ball and I was like, wow. And then I brought it to the family and I said, I reached out to the Giants, and I know Bill was a big fan. So this is for you to do whatever you want with. But, and it had a nice little message on it. and it was personalized by
Yeah.
Coach Coughlin, and I'm pretty sure that it went in with him. You know, it went down.
I've never heard that story from. I know
Yeah.
the individual you're talking about, but I did
Yes.
not hear that
Yeah.
part of the story. So
Yeah,
wow,
pretty
that's
cool.
that's really cool. The Giants, and cool of you that you thought of it to do that. That's
Yeah.
special.
Coach Coughlin, very cool of the Giants to do that stuff. So anyway, where were we? So all right, I think we've.
So long story short, we'll do
Yeah.
a bunch of those giveaways next week. So a lot of cool giveaways to come. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you guys don't miss any videos, and you'll have a chance to win all kinds of fun prizes. So as long as you're a subscriber, you're eligible for our giveaways that'll be happening here at MC Show Digital.
All right. Very, very cool. All right. So giveaways coming up soon.
Yeah.
So tell your friends about us. Get them to subscribe. We do, as I said, want to build up our subscriber base. And again, it's at MC Show Digital YouTube. That's where we want you to go. And then you can hit that little notification, that little bell. And then you find out every time we're putting out a piece of content. As a matter of fact, we are having a great week this week, Boy Green. If some of you have not been kind of tuned in this week to what we've been producing, some really, really cool interviews. We did an interview with Javon Edmonds earlier this week from Syracuse.com. He's one of our SU football insiders about the big 5-star wide receiver that Syracuse signed over the likes of Michigan, Florida State, and Oregon. Wow, to be a finalist with those other 3 teams. Syracuse was the 4th team, and he's coming to Syracuse. So we did an extensive inside interview on that. Tomorrow at 11, we're dropping a really cool interview. I think I mentioned this in our Monday show, just as kind of on the back
That you were
end.
going to try an effort.
Yeah, and I mentioned the story, and that is we have a local golfer here in Central New York. Well, he's born here, doesn't live here anymore, but his dad still lives here. And as a matter of fact, his dad is a close friend of mine. And he has been on the PGA Tour the last couple of years, but he's having an amazing year this year. And in the last 2 tournaments on the PGA Tour, he's finished in 8th place. And this last weekend in 3rd place, behind only 2 other guys who were only a stroke ahead of him when the tournament was finished and played in a playoff to decide who won the tournament. So he literally missed by a stroke of being in a playoff to get his first win on the PGA Tour. And he's 2 strokes away from winning the tournament outright. He had an amazing weekend, and it was his highest finish. And he's playing with a great deal of confidence. He's back playing again in Louisville this week. But Kevin Roy, who is the golfer, I caught up with him, and we are dropping that interview tomorrow at 11. You don't want to miss it. It was really cool talking to him about his journey, talking to him about, what's it like, sitting on a driving range right next to Rory McIlroy, or being in a twosome or threesome with Rory McIlroy, being in a group with a guy like that. So it was interesting. It was really, really worth taking a look at, even if you're not a Central New York native. A lot of people in this town know Kevin Roy. But even if you don't, it's still kind of an interesting journey of a golfer. So that's coming up. And we're going to hear, I think we're going to drop it on Friday, from Michael Tricarico, the voice of the Syracuse Mets. For any of you that are Mets fans, New York Mets fans, we had a very pipeline-centric interview with Michael. All about the current prospects that are down with the Mets and who are the ones that are maybe coming through the pipeline in the not too distant future. We had some nice in-depth conversation about that. So if you're a New York Mets fan, you could kind of get the minor league scoop on what's going on right now and who we could see later this season in a New York Mets uniform, who's rehabbing right now, getting ready to come back to the majors, and who are the future prospects, the ones that we might not see until, even next year or the year after become, perhaps stars of this New York Mets franchise. So some really good interviews that we did this week.
And I'll say this is another reminder that these live shows you guys are seeing both on the Manchild Boy Green digital YouTube channel, and a lot of my Boy Green listeners are on my YouTube channel right now. These interviews Lerch is just talking about, Brunch with Bud Poliquin, Michael Tricarico, Kevin Roy, some of these will not be cross-streaming on this channel. So if you want some of that juicy exclusive content, you have to go to @MC Show Digital. Some of the live shows are going to stream over here as well, so it's cross-pollinating on both channels. But the majority of the content is exclusively @MC Show Digital. So make sure you guys subscribe to that channel if you're not already, and hit the bell notification. So as soon as those videos drop, again, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock on Friday morning, you're going to get those delivered right to you.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. So, and by the way, Bud Poliquin, who was dropped, I think we dropped that on Monday, Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Bud Poliquin is my old radio partner. He retired about 8 years ago, and Bud still loves to talk sports, and he's a little bit of a curmudgeon. He's crusty in a way, but he's really an interesting listen, and he has interesting takes on things. and he's not always with the masses. He's oftentimes on the other side, and he's going to be fascinating in this digital world, which I literally had to go down to his house earlier this week and show him how to get onto our platform here. We use StreamYard as our platform for our YouTube videos, and show him how to enter a room and how to. So now that he knows the technology, we figured it out with him. He's going to probably join us just about every week, and he just vamps on whatever's going on in the world of sports, and we ask him about different things. And you'll really like his takes. He's an interesting guy to listen to. So we'll always be putting that out as content. If it's not in our live show, it'll be separate content, and you can pick it up and listen to it. So you may find yourself, even if you're not yet, to be a Bud fan, dare I say. There are many of them out there. I can tell you that. There are many, many of them out there. So, all right, a couple other things I do want to get to in the live show today, Boy Green. One of them is Jeremy Fowler. I guess he wrote the piece, but this was essentially a poll that was done where they are rating by position players in the NFL.
Yes.
And they're dropping it one at a time. I think the first day was running backs on Monday.
Correct.
Yesterday was defensive linemen. I think it was
defensive tackles.
Tackles. So it's interior defensive
Correct.
linemen.
Yes.
And today, as a matter of fact, I took a little sneak peek. It's edge guys.
Yeah,
edge
pass rushers. Yep.
So, but yesterday's drop was an interesting one. And the reason I bring it up is because while there are a lot of good defensive tackles, dare I say, in the NFL, the guy who made number one in that list is a Giant, and that is the one, the only Dexter Lawrence.
Oh, you flipped the light switch, Lerch. I see it. The blue lights now.
Oh, are we in our Giants template?
Oh, wow.
That's lovely. Lovely. Look at how that. Let's leave it like this for the rest.
Is that a clap on, clap off
this
situation? Is that how that works?
Clap on, clap off.
There you go.
I like it.
Wow. Okay. Dexter Lawrence, sexy Dexy Lerch.
What do you think? I mean, as someone, I'm a Giants fan. I can appreciate this guy. I think he's been underrated for a number of years. Remember, the Giants let go of Leonard Williams partly because they had a lot of faith and knew they were going to pay Dexter Lawrence big money, and they have paid him big money. But they just saw him as the long term. Now, as they let Williams go, he's played really well for other teams, which is kind of. But it's hard to pay two guys mega bucks on the interior of the defensive line. So they made their choice. And the choice was, let's go with this younger guy, and he was named number one. Now, this is, by the way, this whole list is executives, scouts, and coaches. So this is people in the NFL that are in the know. This is not a fan list. This is not a media list. This is guys in the know saying, we think this guy's number one defensive tackle in the NFL right now. I'll let you react to it, Boy Green. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say this. Sexy Dexy, as he likes to be called, Dexter Lawrence, has been a really talented player for a long time. And it's sort of weird that in a New York market, he's a guy that could be overlooked, because normally that happens with the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Arizona Cardinals, or some team where, they don't get the media spotlight. So it's unique that we're getting that in New York with the Giants, that there'd be a player that isn't getting the love he deserves. But I think the reason why he finally got the love he deserves this past season is he had a career year, 9 sacks last year. Quite frankly, he should have had double-digit sacks if Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and some of these other guys didn't get banged up and hurt. I think the efforts would have been stretched across the defensive line, and he would have gotten that. But Dexter Lawrence, that was the one criticism for years and years and years. Yeah, he's really good at the run, defending the run. He's really good at this, but the sack numbers, he's just always there. And by the way, speaking of Leonard Williams, also a former Jet, that was his criticism when he was with the Jets. A lot of pressures, not a lot of sacks which means he was sort of around, but he didn't finish. He wasn't a closer. He wasn't the killer. And he has since figured that out, Leonard Williams, since leaving the Jets. But that was with Dexter Lawrence, too. He was always around the conversation, which is disruptive, but he lacked that sack killer instinct, and he finally got it, which is very unique for that to happen to a guy in his, 6th year in the NFL that finally had that career high out of nowhere is fascinating. So 9 sacks, well-deserved. It's great to see him number one. I'm going to be honest, I was surprised. Chris Jones dominated the voting last year as one of the top defensive tackles in football, so I was surprised he was able to overtake him. But yeah, Dexter Lawrence is terrific.
Yep. Hey, listen, Badshaw, they might, is there a better player on the Giants than Sexy Dexy?
No, I guess not.
Let's hope the guy they drafted this year is. That's the one that I would love to pop.
If you were going to make an argument, Andrew Thomas is a really good left tackle when healthy, so he may be in that conversation.
You got to put the when healthy thing in there.
Well, of course.
That in itself says no. He's not better.
Brian Burns is really good, but obviously he
Not
didn't
enough
have the
production
year.
last year.
No,
Not enough
no,
production
no.
last year.
So yeah, if I gun to my wisdom to my head, I'd say Dexter Lawrence is the best Giant.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, here's an interesting one from Rico the Pump, who says, is Lawrence truly underrated? I think we all know he's a top 5 DL at a minimum and easily the best nose tackle in the league. You want to say he's the best defensive tackle overall. As a Jets fan, I won't argue with that. Okay.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I say underrated is when you go across the league and we're on shows before this year and what just production happened to where this chatter is now happening, obviously in a show we're doing right now. I heard people talk about the top defensive tackles in football. They mentioned Chris Jones. They mentioned Quinnen Williams here with the Jets. They've mentioned Justin Madubuike of the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. They've mentioned Calais Campbell, the old man. They've mentioned DeForest Buckner, names that are just Cameron Hayward, Iron Mike. They've mentioned all kinds of crazy names. But Dexter Lawrence. That's how it's been to me on these national shows. So I think he's finally getting the respect he deserves after this career year last year. And obviously what's happening with this list and other lists, and I'm sure he's going to be highly featured in the NFL Network / NFL Top 100 television show where you rank literally the top 100 players. Dexter Lawrence is going to be very high on that list. So I think the love is going to continue to come for Dexter.
All right, let's have the debate, Jets guy. All right, let's have the debate. Dexter Lawrence, Quinnen Williams. You got to start a team tomorrow. You get one of those two guys. Which guy you taking?
I'm taking Quinnen Williams.
Of course he said that.
I'm taking cue ball. I'm taking Quinnen Williams. He has a higher pass rush ceiling. He has a season in his past that was 12 sacks. That's more than Dexter's ever had in any single season. And this is a quarterback-driven league, and this is a passing league, and guys that can take down the opposing passer get a lot of love. He's had a pass rush floor. He's had at least 5.5 sacks in every year of his career outside of his rookie year where he had 2.5 sacks. So the pressure numbers are there, the overall game, the disruption. But again, Dexter Lawrence makes you think twice after the season he just had. And if he puts another one together, let's say he gets 10 sacks this year, 10 plus, whatever that number ends up being, all of a sudden now we have to have a real debate about it in my mind. But obviously ESPN felt differently. Quinnen Williams on that list was fifth. Dexter Lawrence, number 1. That's a sizable gap on the rankings.
It's interesting. I like Quinnen Williams a lot. I wouldn't mind having him on my defense.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind that at all. He's got a really nice motor, really good upside. So I think we're splitting hairs with those two guys. I like the athleticism of Williams. He just looks to me, when I look at those two guys on the football field, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong in my assessment, I'm not an NFL scout, but I feel like Lawrence is this just strong, incredibly strong, very difficult to move kind of guy. And that Williams is just, there's more finesse to his game. There's a little more athleticism to his game. So if I were to assess the differences between those guys, I think it's nuances. That's the way I see the two guys when I watch them play on the football field. Both great players. I wouldn't be, but Quinnen Williams is, I'll take him on my team. My heart wouldn't be broken.
Yeah, sorry. The only thing I wanted to double check real quick was on size, because I thought Dexter Lawrence was significantly bigger, and he is. Dexter Lawrence is listed at 6'4", 340 pounds. Quinnen Williams is 6'3", 300 pounds. He has 40 pounds less mass on him than Dexter Lawrence.
So Dexter, a little more for his strength. Both guys incredibly strong, but a little more for strength.
But he's a big boy.
But he's a big boy and plugs up the hole real well. And Quinnen Williams is just more athletic. There's just this. So I mean, watching him on Hard Knocks, I'm just like, wow, this guy can move. He really moves. I like him. I like him a lot. That was a very good pick for the Jets.
For sure.
For the Jets. So credit where credit is due. I don't always have to hammer your team.
I appreciate that.
I can be fair. I think that's one of the things about me. All right, is that I'm fair. I'm always fair. I have my teams, but I'm not like blinded by the light. Just like the whole Knicks discussion we already had at the top of the show today. I'm not going to be blinded by it all.
And I think that's another flavor real quick that I just want to highlight as people get to know you more. Obviously, people locally know you very well. You were on TV, you were on radio forever. But I think as people continue to learn you in the digital world here, I think that you're a generalist in the best ways, and that's why we can cover a lot of different topics. I do a Jet show called Boy Green Daily, where it's Jets talk 24/7, 365, literally every day. It is all things New York Jets, and you and I together on this new venture are going to be diving into a variety of sports, which I think is your greatest strength.
And by the way, just looking at this list real quick, and thank you for that, Boy Green. Dexter Lawrence is number 1. He's
Yes.
up from 3 last year. Number 2 on the list is Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs.
He's great.
Who was number 1 last year. So he moved down a spot. 3 on the list is Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Huge rise.
Good young player. Yeah. Last year, last year's honorable mention. He wasn't even in the top 10.
Yeah.
All right, so
yeah.
he jumped all the way up to number 3. Only 24 years old. Good young guy. And by the way, what are the ages on these guys? Just to, Jones is 31. We know he's obviously
Yes.
a PG veteran. And
Quinnen and Dexter, I believe, are both
Dexter's
27.
27.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
And so is
prime.
Quinnen, for that matter.
That's prime. That's
Yeah, of
prime
course.
time right there.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans is number 4 and was 4 last year. So he literally stayed flat to that number. And Quinnen Williams is number 5. He was 2 last year.
Yeah. Big
and
fall.
Dropped down to 5. Part of it is just the way things went down with the Jets last year. But
I think so too.
He could easily be 1 or 2 on this list. I don't see any problems. And by the way, Leonard Williams, number 6.
Isn't that full circle?
So full circle moment for him. Again, played very well with Seattle. So deserves some credit for his play and his sustainability. He's 31 now. And wasn't he the number 1 overall pick in the draft? Wasn't he?
Leonard?
He came out, wasn't he?
No.
Oh,
He was like the 6th overall pick to the
was he?
Jets.
Okay. All right. For
Yeah.
some reason, I had him way at the top of the draft. Okay, 6. That's still way up there. But
No, of course.
for some
Of
reason,
course.
I thought he was the number 1 pick. I don't know why I thought that. Anyway, and then quickly, today's list, we won't get into it in detail, Boy Green, but I'll make some mention of it since it is today. Hold on, I got to go back.
Yeah, on your pass rushers. No
Yes.
Jets, unfortunately,
Yeah.
on the list.
Edge rushers, top 10 again. This is scouts, coaches, and executives. Okay, league executives of the NFL. Myles Garrett, no surprise, number 1.
Of course.
Okay, was number 1 last year. TJ Watt, number 2. All right.
Yeah.
And again, last year was number 2, so no changes at the very top. Micah Parsons, number 3. And again, was 3 last year. So again, no change there. Max Crosby makes it to number 4. He was 5 last year. And then the top 5 rounded out by Nick Bosa of the 49ers, who dropped down from 4 to 5.
So swapping there. Yeah.
And no
Hey,
surprises really
good
on
guys.
this list. I mean, no surprises.
Trying to
Jared
think.
Verse made the top 10.
That was a little rich. He had
Yeah.
like 4.5 sacks last year or something like that. So that
Yep.
that was probably
not
a little
big
rich.
on the sacks, right? But
No.
good player for the
Which-
Rams. Definitely, I
No,
think
sure.
it's
Yeah.
like he was a pretty good draft pick. We'll see what time will tell. But
And fair enough from Rico the Pup. Good point. Wow, the Trey Hendrickson disrespect. Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks last year, 17.5. He's not in the top 5. Disrespectful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't disagree with that. And right, the contract's still up in the air with him. Right?
It is. Yeah, they have not figured out that situation. Some people believe he's going to get traded before the year.
Wow.
Some people believe he's going to hold out for the year if they don't give him his money. So if I'm the Bengals, why don't you pay this guy? He had basically 50% of your sack production as an entire team. Your defense was booty cheeks last year. And the only good thing that was there was Trey Hendrickson. And now we're going to penny pinch. Seems like an odd strategy, but hey.
They're so busy paying everyone else. That's the
Apparently.
that's the problem there, Boy Green, is they're so busy paying everybody else. That's
people thought when
part
we
of the
brought
problem.
up Mike Brown earlier, Badshaw making a joke, they thought I was talking about the Bengals owner. No, you could have confused him with Cheapskate or Penny Pincher or Mr. Krabs. One of those, perhaps.
Yeah. All right. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Play It Again Sports Syracuse. We'll just take 30 seconds here to recognize them. Be right back.
Warm weather sports season is here, and if you want to gear up and save money on some of the top brands of golf, soccer, and baseball equipment, and much more, Play It Again Sports can be your solution. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. And for all you golfers out there, get some quick money for those clubs you've got stashed away and are collecting dust. Play It Again is always looking for quality gear. No appointment necessary. Just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard. Don't spend more. Play it again. Play It Again Sports. Syracuse.com.
Again, thank Play It Again and all of our sponsors. You see them up on the, if I can get my finger in the right direction, over there in the upper right corner. We have several sponsors. All of those sponsors have come over from our radio world to support us here in the digital world. And we need that support, and we need your support too. So don't forget to like and subscribe. At MC Show Digital is our YouTube channel. Please subscribe there. Pass it along to your friends. As we mentioned, we're going to have some pretty cool giveaways for new subscribers coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you want to get on that gravy train. It costs nothing, obviously, to subscribe, and also click on the notification so you get our videos when they come out. Like I said, we put out a lot of content this week and we'll continue to churn it out each and every week, even though we're a little bit in the dog days of the summer, Boy Green, right? It's a
Very much so.
weird time of year, but man, when we get into NFL season, we'll be cranking up NFL content like there's no tomorrow. We'll give you a really good look at the NFL. Obviously, Boy Green is all over the Jets. I'm all over the Giants. And then, the Bills as well. Anybody's a Bills fan, big time into the Bills. We've got insiders from all of those teams, all of the New York teams. If you consider
NFL picks, Lerch, that we'll bring back this year, fantasy football conversation.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of the staples, some of the real staples that we had on the radio show, we will bring to the digital format, and hopefully you'll like some of that stuff. We pick every single NFL game against the spread.
Against the spread. Yeah.
Every year, every game, all year against the spread. And then we compete against each other, and we let some of our underlings, our interns, people that work with us, our producers, to also get an opportunity to compete with us, and our insiders compete with us as well. We have our fantasy insider, Joe Bartle from RotoWire.
Yeah.
We have NFL insiders that participate in our picks. So it's a lot of fun.
And our fans, which is going to be the most cool and interactive way. We've done it for a while, but for you guys to see it and interact live when we do these football picks here on the show, you'll be able to make all your votes, and it'll be the majority of your guys' votes will determine who you guys pick on a week-to-week basis. If it's Jets, Bills, and the Steelers are favored by 2.5, and 60% of you in the audience say the Jets are going to win, well, the Jets are the official pick for the quote-unquote fans. We'll keep track of that throughout the entire season. So that's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of cool interactive stuff coming around the corner.
Yeah, so very, very cool stuff. All right, so look, we've touched on the Knicks. We've touched on the NFL. Boy Green, I got one more piece of business. We have to get this done. We have to finish.
Yes.
We did last week, and we're here like at the end of week 2 here of our little digital journey, the start of our digital journey. So we
please explain this too, Lerch, before we
I know. I do. That's the problem, is I have to explain this whole thing again. And I'm sorry to do it, but this is the last time I'm going to do it.
Of course.
All right, and then we're going to make it available
on YouTube,
on our digital platform, so that you can go listen to it for yourself, and we're going to caption in the lyrics. So we're working on that. So just give us a couple more days, and we will put it up there for your listening pleasure. But as my radio career of 24 years was coming to a close, I had mentioned to Boy Green for years and years that I wanted to take Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire," and I wanted to use our history of our show and tell the history of our show in a "We Didn't Start the Fire" thing. And so I was kidded around about it. Then Boy Green said, well, we announced 2 weeks before that we were leaving the radio airwaves and moving to digital. And Boy Green said, well, are you going to do it? And I was like, well, I guess if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. So I did it, and it took several days to write. And then I got a local musician, his name is Bill Ali, to record it. He did a phenomenal job. And so interlaced into the lyrics, just like Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire,"
the real song,
all these stories about news items and things that happened in the world. Well, these are things that happened in our world. So we have, over the course of a few shows, gone through some of the verses, but there's some stories in here. And this is a cool thing. And the reason why we're doing this is certainly not to be egomaniacal or anything like that. It's to give you a little bit of context of the history of our show and the people we've interacted with, because there may be a recurrence of some of these people. You may start seeing them in the comments. We might down the road here start taking some video calls as well. So you'll be able to join us on the big screen with us and ask us questions and have thoughts with us that way. That's coming down the pike as well. So that's another reason why you want to subscribe. I just wanted to do this special thing before we signed off. And so we did. And there are a lot of cool stories in here. So we have just 2 more verses. We can get through them today, Boy Green. We're going to promise I'll try to make some of the stories give you the shorter story. And if anyone has more questions on them, we could talk about them in future shows. But I did want to get through the last couple here. So I actually queued up the song to the spot in the chorus right before the next verse that we're going to talk about. So let me just pull it up here, Boy Green, and hopefully it plays exactly where I queued it.
Perfect.
And that doesn't go south. If for some reason it does go south, I'll just walk through the lyrics. But so right out of this verse is the last couple of verses, last 2 verses. Here we go.
It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we tried to fight it. Tina Turner, Scorpions, Mark believes they are the same. Tyson, birthday singing to the man-child. Stephen North, Syracuse has a stat we all can use. Bud's had shaved clean, auto strikes on way to get. Ball boys barely fine. Did he commit a crime? Umaru, CTE. What else do I have to say?
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. So that's the next
Sure.
verses there, the little stanza, if you want to call it. All right. So let's walk through a couple of cool stories here.
Yes,
Some really,
a lot
really
of great
good,
stories.
stories from the radio world. Okay, so the first one is Tina Turner, Scorpions. Mark believes they are the same. Boy Green, you got to tell people this story. This is a funny story. It's about a friend of ours named Mark Rowlands, who
Yes.
was my TA in college, because I'm a college professor on the side. And so he's my TA. I met him first as a student. Then he became my teaching assistant. Then he graduated college. Then he interned for us. And he even graduated to being able to fill in host for us. And he now has his own show still on the radio station that we just left. So Mark has become an accomplished broadcaster. But we used to play this Fun Friday game, which we're going to bring back to the digital world here in the next couple of weeks. And we had one of the most hilarious things. There are going to be 2 moments in here from Fun Friday, specifically from questions. And this is the first one. Tina Turner, Scorpions. Mark believes they are the same. Tell the story, Boy Green.
Yes, so these Fun Friday games, again, I think you guys are going to get a real kick out of it when we do it. We play literal games, Family Feud, Jeopardy, Audio Jeopardy, where one of us that are involved in the radio show will host one of the games. So me, in this particular case, for this particular story, I hosted a game, and one of the ones I love doing is Audio Jeopardy. It takes a lot of hard work to prepare these sound bites and things of that nature and then present them. And one of the things I did is I played a popular song. You heard it, some random portion of the song, and then your job was to tell me who sang the song, who was the artist that sang the song. So I play.
It was Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Song.
Simply the Best, which seems pretty iconic.
Better than all the rest.
Yeah, very clear as day.
Iconic Tina Turner song.
So I play it, and we go around the room. We normally
Mark buzzes in. No, Mark buzzes in.
Oh, yeah. And we have 2 or 3 people in the room. Right, yeah. Right. Oh, I know.
We're competing against each other. Mark buzzes in first.
Yep. And he buzzes in.
I know it, right? And he turns.
Yeah, and he goes, Scorpions. And I go.
Did he all of us gave the double take. Like, all of us gave the Scorpions. This is an iconic Tina Turner song. And and the thing with Mark, now Mark is a musician. He plays in a couple of bands. He's actually out there playing in some band probably this weekend. All right. So, and he's very good with music trivia. So for him to get a question like that wrong was like really bad for Mark. Like Mark, the minute it came out of his mouth and we gave him the look and we're like, what? Play a little more of that, Boy Green. He thinks this is the Scorpions, you know, we're talking about, Here I Am Rocking Like a Hurricane band.
Yeah.
All right. That's the Scorpions.
To compare. Right.
Okay. No, this is Simply the Best by Tina Turner, a female voice, first of all, not a male voice.
That's also
and
true.
Really not in the same genre, even
at all.
Pop versus heavy metal, kind of.
Right.
So very, very bizarre. And Mark will never live it down.
No.
And so
now it lives on forever.
He knew I was working on this song because we still see Mark, and we saw him in our farewell week. And I said, "Hey, Mark, you made the song." And he goes, "Don't tell me. Tina Turner, Scorpions." And I was like, "Wow, you even got part of the line. What's the follow-up, though, line? Because I didn't just stop there, Mark. I had to get you in it."
Yeah.
It's like, "I don't know, but I don't want to hear it."
Yeah.
And then the line was, Mark believes they are the same. They're not the same.
Oh, my God.
Tina Turner's over here. Scorpions are over there. They're not the same.
And
so Mark, that day, they were the same.
And hopefully we find new lyrics in this digital world when Lerch has to write another version of this now after we get whatever happens in this digital world. So hopefully some of you guys have some of those embarrassing answers, too, over the coming years.
All right. The next line is Tyson birthday singing to the Manchild. Now, I can't play it right now. I know we do have it, Boy.
Oh, we do.
I think we do. I think you loaded it.
I do. I do have it, but
can't play it because it'll mess up the song because I've got the song.
So I'll do it later.
We'll do it later. But here's the backstory. Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson.
Yep, it's on here. I
came on the radio show, I'm going to say somewhere around 8-9 years ago.
All right.
I booked him for our show. He was doing a one-man show, and he was touring around, and he was in the greater Syracuse area. And I reached out to his publicist, and I said, "Hey, we'd love to have Mike on to talk about his one-man show and boxing, of course." So his publicist arranged it. I told him who we were. We're a credible radio show in Syracuse. We interview, celebrities all the time. And he arranged it. And it happened to be on my birthday. Now, I never usually work on my birthday. Always take my birthday off. My birthday is like sacred. All right. But I knew we had Mike Tyson booked, and I was like, I'm not going to take it off.
Of course.
We got Mike Tyson. I can't miss the Mike Tyson interview, So I showed up that day, and Mike Tyson came on the show with us. Well, I say to Mike towards the back end of the interview and asking him all about his one-man show. We're talking to him about his days as a boxer and what does he think of the current state of boxing, yada, yada. And then we get to the end and I say, hey, Mike, not for nothing, but today I wasn't planning on coming to the show because it's my birthday, but I came because I knew we were interviewing you and I didn't want to miss our interview. I wonder if you would be willing on the air right now, Mike, to just wish me a happy birthday. Now, my reason for doing this, again, was not egomaniacal, but it was if I get Mike Tyson saying happy birthday, Jim, or happy birthday, Manchild, I got that sound snippet forever. Like I can just like put that in the archives and like click on it and play it anytime I want. So that's what I was hoping for, that Mike Tyson would just say, hey, happy birthday, Manchild, or happy birthday, Jim. So that's all. Mike Tyson's voice, the actual Mike Tyson saying that. But Mike Tyson did a lot better than that. Mike Tyson said, sure. And then he broke out in song.
Yes.
Sang by himself, happy birthday to me.
We'll hear it a little bit later.
Before we leave, okay? Before we leave.
I do have it, yes.
We will play it. You don't want to miss it. It's fantastic. And Mike Tyson sang happy birthday to me. And of course, I've had it forever. And it's the greatest thing ever. Have you ever had Mike Tyson sing happy birthday to you? I have. I mean, that's like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So that's what that's all about. The next line is Steve in North Syracuse has a stat that we can use. We all can use. And that's very simple. Steve in North Syracuse is a longtime caller of ours. Unfortunately, just a couple of months ago, he passed away. So before our radio show came to an end, Steve passed away. I think he was battling cancer. And Steve was a longtime caller. He didn't only call our show in Syracuse, but he called all of the local shows regularly. And he was this just very, very bright guy who always brought a statistical element to things. And so that's what that line is. It's just an homage to Steve, who was a longtime caller and a big contributor to our show. And he always had a stat that we could use. So yes, salute to Steve. And thinking of him every day even when we're doing this digital world. And then the next line is Bud's head shaved clean. Okay, I got to stop there. Bud's head shaved clean. You want to tell a little piece of the story? Go ahead, Boy Green.
Sure. Bud Poliquin, who again, you guys will continue to get to know at these Brunch with Bud Poliquins in the digital world. We finally popped that cherry, so it should be a little easier, hopefully, moving forward, doing some of these interviews.
Yeah, see this cast of characters. Some of them we will bring into the digital world, and Bud is one of them.
Yes, and Bud Lerch said it sometimes has takes that go against the grain in some form or fashion. And on the radio, sometimes the bets that just sort of come organically are the ones that
are the best.
It can hit.
Right.
And Syracuse played Temple.
Had a football game against Temple. Temple was a drag in the Big East. This is when Syracuse is in the Big East. Temple was awful. They had maybe one game going into this game in the season. They have 9-10 games into the season at this point. And Bud literally said, they cannot lose to Temple. They will not lose. I'd put my life on it. Right? Like it just made this emphatic hot take statement. And I was like, Bud, I know Temple is bad. And Syracuse shouldn't lose this game, but they are more than capable of losing this game. And he was like, no, no, no. And I was like, let's not put your life on it, but let's have another bet. Would you be willing to bet on it? And he goes, of course I would. What's the bet? I said, if Syracuse loses, you have to shave your head. And we're going to do it at an event, and everybody's going to get to come and see it. And one of our listeners is going to be the shavee, is going to be the person shaving your head. So somebody will get the privilege of taking off the hair off your head. He's like, fine, whatever. And then, of course,
because it's not going to happen, is Bud's take, obviously.
And they did lose, and Bud did get his head shaved, and we have pictures and everything to show for it. So maybe one of these days we can pop up some of those pictures and show it. I didn't prep one for today, but I have the pictures. I just saw them the other day.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think they're on an Instagram feed. If you go all the way back at Instagram and you scroll back through our pictures, you should be able to see that.
Also, on our Facebook page, so you guys can check out a lot of the old photos there as well.
Facebook too. All right, and then the last one is Auto Strike Zone waits again. I'll tell the quick version of the story. I can go off for about 2 hours on Auto Strike Zone. But I am a big believer that Major League Baseball should have a robot strike zone. I hate the judgment call of the umpires. I've been against this for many, many years. This is not just in recent years. I've been preaching this thing for 15 years. So once again, we're waiting for the auto strike zone in baseball. It's just despicable. And we continue to see bad calls in Major League Baseball affecting the outcomes of games, and nothing happens. So they're supposed to, after much research.
Next year, I heard.
But they're not even doing what I want. I want the robot strike zone. They're going to do the challenge system, which we've seen both at the minor league level, because we're in a AAA.
Yes, correct.
Robot strike zone. No arguments. Game moves along much better. They're going to go to the challenge system. So then you get a limited amount of challenges, and I don't like it, but whatever. That's what they're going to do. So that's the strike zone thing. And then the last line here is ball boys, Bernie Fine. Did he commit a crime? All right. This is a complicated one, but basically Bernie Fine, the former assistant coach of Jim Boeheim on the basketball team, was accused many, many years later by two now adult men who were, when they were younger, ball boys for the Syracuse basketball team. They accused Bernie Fine of molesting them as children. And this became a national story. And if, how many years ago was it? And Bernie was fired over it. He was the longtime assistant coach, Jim Boeheim's right-hand man, best friends with Jim Boeheim. And he lost his job over it. And we got, all kinds of national media descending upon Syracuse, New York, to try to get
14 years ago, 2011 timeframe.
A really difficult time, a difficult story to cover on the air, and we were covering it for 3 weeks straight. It was crazy. So that's what that's about, and we still don't know whether Bernie Fine did or didn't do this. It depends on who you believe. He was never, prosecuted for his crime, never found guilty of a crime, but he was fired as assistant coach of Syracuse. And then the next line is, the way Bill says it is Umalu, but we know it's Omalu is the way you pronounce it. And that's Bennett Omalu, who is the CTE doctor, who is depicted in the movie with Will Smith, Concussion. And Dr. Omalu came on our show and talked about concussions, Boy Green. I'll never forget that day. Holy crow.
I will just say this to tell a quick version because I know we have lines to get to, but CTE, it continues to be a very powerful conversation in today's media. But when we did this conversation, it was back in. It might have been when the Will Smith movie was coming out. I don't even know.
Just a little after, actually.
Yeah, there you go. So the conversation was fresh, and Lerch turns to me and says, what we really need is an expert to come on here to, we can have some back and forth and really talk about it. It's a hot topic in the world right now. Let's get an expert on to talk about it. And I jokingly or not jokingly say, hey, Lerch, what about Dr. Omalu? And he went, well, sure, that'd be great if you could do that.
Yeah,
and I went, all right, and I'll give it a shot. For people who don't know, one of my jobs in the old radio world was being the producer / getting guest, being the guest guy. So Lerch could turn to me on a certain week and say, hey, New York Mets, try to get us a good New York Mets guy if we didn't already have a relationship or wanted us to change it up or something. And I would go out into the universe and use my abilities to try to connect with the right people to bring someone in. So long story short, I go and find Dr. Omalu, out in the internet world to find the right people that get to this, to this, to this, to this, to get to Dr. Omalu.
Yeah.
And we book Dr. Omalu for the radio show. And I will tell you, the first time that we booked Dr. Omalu, he was on a Wednesday.
It was just a Wednesday and
10:30 or something. Right? And I get a call from Omalu's office saying, I know Dr. Omalu promised to join you on Wednesday at 10:30, but an emergency brain surgery has come up. Can we reschedule? And I'm like, Jesus, of course you can. Save whoever this guy is and get
it's just
back
a radio
to me.
Interview for crying out loud. Yeah. So he had to, he canceled on us because of brain surgery. That's correct.
Which, he rescheduled and the interview went great. And again, this is another point of credit I give to Lerch, and I give it to him every time.
This was a tough interview. I remember this interview very, very well, and I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yes, and it's so important. And for you interviewers out there in the universe that do what we do, even the Jets content creating world, if you're interviewing a Rich Samini or a Connor Hughes, whoever it is in the universe, this takes gall to do what Lerch did, right? We have Dr. Omalu. Massive name. He's Dr. Omalu. He's probably done a cajillion interviews in his life, both medically, like giving his version of a sermon on a certain project, or doing radio interviews, TV interviews, what have you.
And the fact that the guy has a few things going on in his life, and he's going to come on a radio show, sports radio show in Syracuse, New York, to chat with us for a half hour or so. I mean, I'm very appreciative when someone is willing to do that. And I was certainly appreciative that day.
So Lerch asked the first question, like, Dr. Omalu, let's get into this. And Dr. Omalu, on Lerch's first question, goes like some odd 8+ minutes on an answer. And me and Lerch look at each other, right? This is radio world, so there's no cameras on us. And we're like, oh boy, what do we do? Like, oh no. Like me and Lerch probably had 6 or 7 questions apiece. Sometimes you prepare extra just in case you can't get to everything. And we're like, oh my God, we're not going to get through any of this. and the information Dr. Malo was sharing was great, but he just kept lecturing.
Right, and we wanted to go
Yes.
back and forth. We wanted to
Of
get to
course.
some hot button things in
Yes.
the world of sports that were relevant to our audience.
Yes.
And while I could listen to that guy all day,
Sure.
we only have a 2-hour show, and we were
Right.
only expecting him to be about a half hour of that show. And
Yeah.
he took the first answer out like 8 or 9 minutes. I was like, and you couldn't interrupt him. He was in the middle of a story. You know,
Of course.
you're just trying to be courteous, but I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what do I do here?
So again, and I give Lerch credit for this. He says, Dr. Amalu. Again, this is Dr. Bleeping Amalu.
Just after he finishes up that answer,
Yeah,
finally,
that
some
answer,
9
thank
minutes
God.
in.
Yeah, right. He goes, we can listen to you all day, Dr. Amalu, but I want this to be back and forth. So if we can have a conversation here, I think that'd be better for the audience and allow us to get to all these different topic matters. And Dr. Amalu, I was going to do a Dr. Amalu impersonation. That would be awful. So I will not.
Don't
I
do
will
it.
save your ears from that and eyes from that. But Dr. Amalu goes, okay. And then we have this one of the greatest guests we've ever had on the show. Powerful conversations, good back and forth as a former football player to Dr. Amalu. Us having that conversation. The interview was great. The only thing is I wish we would have kept it to have it in our archives because we've transitioned a few radio items over here to YouTube. But that was one of the great moments in Lerch's history with me of being willing to make that call, which again could have went the other way. Dr. Amalu could have been, I'm Dr. Amalu. How about this? You ask whatever questions, I give you whatever answers, and then I go back to brain surgery. It could have went a completely left turn to what Lerch asked, but Amalu was very respectful. Lerch asked it in a very professional way, and it just saved the interview. And I think, again, it ranks up there as one of our best interviews we've ever done in this show.
Yeah, that was cool.
History.
And obviously he was talking about CTE. And yeah, that was a moment. I was worried about how that was going to go down. And I tried to get in my head the words of how am I going to say this? We can't do this interview this way. We'll be with 2 hours with them and we're not going to get any of our questions in. And I was able to very politely say, listen, I could listen to you all day. And what you have to say is monumental. And I want my listeners to appreciate it. But in order for us to really appreciate it, we do have a limited amount of time. Can we just have some back and forth, doctor? Can I ask some questions and ask you for shorter answers? Can I interrupt you at times and maybe be able to jump back in and say, can I just follow up here? And he just gave us the levity. And then it became a true Q&A, and the interview from that point on went fantastically. But it was an awesome coup to get him. And it was even better the way that interview ended up working out after a very rocky start in terms of,
where's this going to go?
Yeah, we're going to get like 1/8 of the amount of stuff that we had planned on talking about, which would not have been great for the audience. So that's what that's all about. All right, we got one more verse, Boy Green. We're going to get through this quickly. All right, I'm going to cue back up the music. Let's listen one more time. The last verse here of We Didn't Start the Fire.
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it. Scott Shaver Robinson, Doug Marone is back against Survivor. Brett LaBelle, Champs League, Jumps League. Lyric name and missing out. Triple seat and quad seats. Fits inside a rocking chair and oats outside this porch. Liberty's 10,000 high as George went dead or alive. Intern Jake hesitate. Chuck Pat Robbins back. Northern Lights on the stage. 2 truths and a lie we play. Bud scream Halloween. I can't take it anymore. We didn't start the fire.
All right, and then it just trails off. It just trails off from there.
We didn't start the fire.
We didn't start the fire. Chorus over and over.
Yes, correct.
All right, so let's get to it quick. All right, first out of the box, Scott Shafer Robinson, Doug Marone is back again. Pretty easy there, Boy Green. What's that all about?
It's just about the rotation. Again, when the radio show is on air for 23 years going into its 24th year, and shout out to everyone involved with that, from interns to producers to radio stations and all the great support we've had over the years. Yeah. Obviously, we've covered a lot of Syracuse football and a lot of Syracuse football musical chairs, from Pasqualoni being let go in 2004 to Doug Marone to all of those names you just heard. So it's just been a rotation of the Syracuse football head coaches. We've had the ability to both me and you cover in person during our TV, radio, and inside the Loud House careers.
All right, next two lines here. Survivor, Brett LaBelle, Champs League, Chumps League. All right, go ahead. Give a quick on that.
So rapid fire here. Me and Lerch, of course, are obviously sports fans, and you guys see Sports Entertainment Digital. We talk about all kinds of sports, but me and Lerch are also beyond sports, and you're going to get a glimpse of that on the show. You also get a glimpse of that on my Jet shows, is that we have other interests, and one of those interests that align between me and Lerch is we're both diehard Survivor fans. The show came out 25 years ago. and it's an amazing show hosted by Jeff Probst on CBS or Paramount Plus, wherever you guys get your shows. Season 49 comes out this fall. Season 50 is a year from now in the spring of 2026. It's been a great show, and one of the things on the radio show that we did is talk about Survivor and do Survivor fantasy drafts, a lot of fun stuff on the show. And I asked Lerch, hey, would you be interested in doing Survivor content? Because you didn't do that with Bud. He said, sure. And I said, okay, I have two ideas. My first idea is getting a cajillion awesome survivors each week, having someone different that in theory should help us out because it's not a commitment on anybody. It's just once a week and they're all different people. So I can match up everyone's times and do that. And I started to do that of reaching out, trying to connect with Survivor who are all regular people working construction and doctors, and it was getting complicated. And then one guy that I reached out to, Brett LaBelle, and we'll have to explore this with him on a future interview because I'm sure we'll do it for season 49. He thought it was a scam. He didn't believe that the Manchild Boy Green was a real radio show. Yep. He thought it was a gimmick. He thought I was trying to get money out of him, or I was like some Nigerian prince somewhere asking for a Western Union
check on the side of the road.
And I was like, no. This is real. This is 100% real. Me and him are diehard Survivor fans. We love to have you on. Try it. Just call into the show, or we'll call you. Whatever way you feel safest, we'll do this. And he did it, fell in love, and he's been with us for, 11 or 12 Survivor seasons. So it's been incredible.
Brett's a cop from Boston. He's got the Boston accent. He's a lot of fun. And by the way, I've created playlists in our on our YouTube channel at MC Show Digital on YouTube, and one of the playlists is Survivor. So we've got a Jets channel, a Jets playlist, a Giants playlist, a Bills playlist, a Survivor playlist. All right. So we're going to create some playlists for you guys. So if you like one particular aspect of something that we cover, maybe you're a Survivor nut, you're not even much of a sports fan, then you can plug into that. We already have 2 interviews on season 50. One was with Brett LaBelle, and we just did one last week with Tiffany Seeley. Those are both in the Survivor playlist. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out on our YouTube channel, go ahead.
Yeah, and real quick, just 2 things here. First off, people, I understand that some people are not going to be Jets, Giants, and Bills fans, and they may not care to hear all of those different interviews, but that's what the playlists are for. We make it custom to you. If you're a Jets fan, go to the Jets channel, Jets playlist, excuse me. If you're a Survivor fan, go to the Survivor playlist. Join us in those live shows or pre-recorded interviews and have a good time. The other one I didn't get to of what you said, Champs League, Chumps League, again, another thing you guys will get to know with fantasy football is our fantasy football leagues, which again, you guys will learn even more about as we get closer to the fall.
So those are 2 of our leagues. As a matter of fact, in the next line, you're going to hear about the other 2 leagues. So the next line is Lyric Name It Missing Now, Triple C, then Quad City. So the back end of that are the other 2 leagues. So it's Champs, Chumps, Triple C, and Quad Cities. Those are our 4 fantasy football leagues. Lyric Name It Missing Now. Tell people what that is real quick.
Yes, on Fun Fridays, I've tried to come up with creative games. Now, the video world is going to give me even more possibilities that I couldn't do only on the radio, but I was trying to think of audio-only games that could challenge these guys, have a lot of fun, and also, obviously, be entertaining to the fans. I didn't want to do inside jokes that fans in their cars wouldn't enjoy and be entertained by as well. So I thought, everyone loves karaoke, but everyone thinks when they're singing in the car that they're singing the right lyrics, but often they're not. Yeah. So I play a song, and we'll probably bring this back, and I'll probably be able to do some cool visual stuff with it.
You stop it, and then we got to continue.
It screech halts, right? Yeah. Like, don't stop believing, and then keep singing. And
you have to get the next,
whatever the lyric would be at that particular.
And you have to get it exactly. This is the brutal part of it. You just say then instead of that. You say I instead of me. It's so easy to screw it up if you
100%.
The words. It's one of the most brutal games we play, and it's very hard. And I thought I was good at music until I played that game. Yeah. And disaster in that game. Every time Boy Green goes, we're going to do, name the lyric. I'm like, no, my least favorite game of them all, because it just becomes a big embarrassment that you can't come up with that exact lyric time and time again. Triple C and Quad Cities is our leagues, like I mentioned. This is a good one, this last line here. Vincent's on a rocking chair on the Otisaga's porch. The Otisaga referencing the Otisaga Hotel in Cooperstown. And here's the quick story. Yes. Bud's son, Nathan, is with Bud in Cooperstown. And they decide to go to these rocking chairs, which are on the back porch of the Otisaga Hotel that overlook the beautiful lake there down in Cooperstown. And so they're on their rocking chairs, just sitting there, father and son. His son's like 9 years old, 9 years old, something like that. So it's just Pop and son sitting on the rocking chairs on a beautiful day in Cooperstown, New York, talking baseball. And this guy comes by with a cane, kind of slowly creeps by them, creaking away with his cane, goes about 2 or 3 rocking chairs down from them, cuts right in front of them, and sits in his own rocking chair. And now the 3 people are out there. Now, this person isn't interacting with him. He's just a couple of chairs away, just minding his own business, enjoying a beautiful day at the Oda Saga. And Bud's son says to him, thinking, you know how kids are always louder than they think they're going to be?
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, Pop, who does that guy over there think he is? Faye Vincent?" And so Bud kind of giggles to himself and, doesn't really, say much about it. About 10 minutes go by, and that guy with the cane gets up from his rocking chair and walks his way back past them to head back into the hotel. And he stops cold right in front of Bud's 9-year-old son, Nathan. And he says, "Son, as a matter of fact, I am Faye Vincent." And it was Faye Vincent, the commissioner of baseball, who was enjoying a little time on the rocking chair. I don't know why Bud's son said that. Maybe we can reintroduce that story with Bud in one of our brunches with Bud. But that's my recollection of how Bud told the story. So hilarious moment, a kid embarrassed by the actual Faye Vincent saying, "Yes, son, I am Faye Vincent."
And quickly, let's give a tip of the cap. Faye Vincent just passed away in February.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
He just died. He died at his home in Florida. So
right.
Just a salute to Faye Vincent.
Yes. 2 more lines to get through, Boy Green, and then we are done with this.
There we go.
Once and for all. And like I said, we will post the entire song separately on our YouTube channel in a couple of days with the
lyrics right?
Caption below. So we just got to do the lyrics for you. That's why it's going to take a couple of days. All right. Last 2 lines here. Liberty's 10,000 high. Is George Wendt dead or alive? All right, Boy Green, I'll tell the first end of it. You might not tell. You don't want to tell your own story. Like I said, there were 2 classic things from our Fun Friday games that made it directly into this that were actual people screwing up. One was Mark and believing that the Scorpions were Tina Turner. No chance that that's ever going to happen in the real world. The other one was a final question. The final question in our Fun Friday, always as a tiebreaker, so to speak, was always a number question. And then whoever got closest to the number was the one who would win. So that day, I was the MC. I was the one hosting the show. And Boy Green was playing against a couple of the interns. And the final question is, how many feet high is the Statue of Liberty in New York City? The one that sits in the harbor there in New York City. How many feet high is the Statue of Liberty? And I think you were the first to guess. And boy,
yes, I was.
Oh God, I'm terrible with numbers and the heights. Oh God,
I've never seen it in person. I don't know.
I've never seen it actually. I never stood in front of it. I was like, come on, Boy Green, you've seen it on TV.
That's what you said.
Sporting
You're
events in
egging me
New
on.
York, they're always showing shots of the Liberty and the harbor. I mean, you gotta have some idea. And Boy Green goes, all right. I'm like, make a guess. You got 3 seconds. Say something. 10,000 feet. And I just did everything not to completely lose my stuff because the other 2 people still had to guess. And I go, okay, 10,000 feet for Boy Green. Let me mark that one down. All right, Johnny, what do you have? And the other 2 guessed, one guessed 500 feet or, and one guessed, 200 feet or something, whatever it was. Reasonable numbers. Okay. I think Lady Liberty, could you look it up real quick?
Sure.
My recollection is it's 192, maybe 192 feet. I think something like that, around 200 feet high, I think is the number. You could get me the exact number. But anyway, 10,000 feet was
305 feet and 1 inch.
305 feet. Okay, a little bigger than I thought. 305 feet. All right. Could you imagine Liberty 10,000 feet high, folks? For any of you that live down in New York or have ever gone to Liberty, imagine Liberty more than 10 times her size. I mean, what would that be? 300 feet times 10 is 3,000 feet. So that's 30 times the size of what Liberty actually is. I mean, Lady Liberty would be so big, you'd make the Empire State Building look small. All right.
Yeah.
So
I was an idiot. Yeah.
It was just one of the worst guesses in the history. And of course, you've had to live with that forever.
It's true.
Right. Is George Wendt dead or alive? We used to play this game called Dead or Alive, where I would just name celebrities and then you'd have to say whether the person was dead or alive. And it was a fun little game. So I just threw that in there. George Wendt recently passed. As I said, my question would have potentially been, is George Wendt dead or alive?
Which, by the way,
yes.
We have that theme
you want to
song.
play the little intro?
Okay,
go ahead.
here you
can.
go. Here it is.
You can, because we're done with the song. So you can jump over to
go.
that and play it. Go ahead.
Dead
Or alive!
There you go.
All right, so that was our little intro to Dead or Alive. So if we play that in the future in one of our Fun Friday games, you'll hear that little intro.
Well, actually, Lerch, let me just make sure so we don't forget it. Let's play the Mike Tyson happy birthday thing.
Oh, yes,
here.
let's do that. Yes.
So I don't forget to get to it.
So
again,
here it is. We told the story a little while ago. Mike Tyson singing happy birthday to me on the air.
Real Mike Tyson.
The real guy. This is him.
And before I play it, I know in this world we all think everything's AI now. This is real.
No AI.
This is
No
100% Mike. This is pre-AI.
Legit.
This is 100% Iron Mike Tyson. Here you go.
Happy birthday, Manchild.
You made my birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Manchild. Happy birthday to you. How old are you, man? How old are you now? How old are you now? You are old son of a gun, but you are old.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Still here, Manchild. This guy's 18. He ain't here no more.
Yeah, he's
There
right
it
about
is.
that. Right about that.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson dropping some knowledge and a little song on the Manchild. Never forget it. So that's what that was all about. All right, and then the next one is intern Jake has a take. Chuck, Pat, Rob is back. And quickly on these, intern Jake was one of our interns, so it's just him having a take on something. Chuck in Manlius was a longtime caller. I got his name in there. Pat in Syracuse is a longtime caller. I got his name in there. And Rob in Baldwinsville was a longtime caller for our show. I got his name in there. So those are just mentions of callers, regular callers to our radio show. Final line, Boy Green, and we're done. Next one is Northern Lights on the Stage.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lerch, for those who don't know, and again, I keep restating this phrase. You're going to get to know more about this. You're going to get to know more about this. But as you learn us, and specifically Jim the Manchild Lerch, you'll know he's a musician that's played in a lot of different bands. Northern Lights, King's Ransom, a variety. In Living Color, like there's all these bands that Lerch has played with and played on stage about, and you'll learn some of those, and we'll see some of the pictures and everything else, videos, audio, all that stuff.
Some pictures. That was the name of my band, Northern Lights.
Yes.
So that was just a reference back to my rock and roll days. And then Two Truths and a Lie we played. That's another game that we play on Fun Fridays called Two Truths and a Lie. You make 3 statements. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is a lie. And you have to guess which is the lie, and you score points for that.
All right, here it is, Lerch, real quick.
I swear it's absolutely true.
I'd never tell a lie. Never, ever tell a lie.
It's a complete and utter fabrication.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Really now, I just killed it a little bit. Just a little. Lies, 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 lies.
Time to figure out where the truth lies. It's 2 truths and a lie on the Manchild Show.
Now, the question you never answered, Lerch, is how many people did you have to pay to get that full team in there for all those different voices? Yeah.
Interesting little side thing. I'll unmask myself here. But other than the announcer guy you heard at the end saying, 2 truths and a lie, here we go. All of the voices in that are me. So every one of them is me, and you'll come
impersonations.
To learn that I like to do impersonations and crazy voices and sounds. So that'll probably bleed through in the upcoming episodes here of the MC Show Digital platform here at MC Show Digital. So I am definitely a voice guy, and I love doing voices and sounds. And so that was all me. Every one of those voices was me in a different voice. Maybe you picked up on a little bit of it. And then the last one is Bud Scream Halloween. I can't take it anymore. Again, another reference to my old partner, Bud Poliquin. You want to tell people about what that's all about? Why did Bud and screaming and Halloween have to do with each other?
Sure. So Bud Poliquin is an interesting character, an interesting individual, and one of the holidays, obviously, he cherishes, just like my fiance, and holds dear to his heart, is celebrating the annual Halloween tradition. And Bud used to scare children. Let's just call it how we see it.
He would set up a coffin, on his front lawn. He would ghoul himself up or whatever, with the makeup and the blood on his face and stuff, as a kind of a vampire-y character. He'd go inside the coffin, and then when trick-or-treaters would come up to the door and pass by the coffin, he would pop out and scare them as a bloody Dracula. And people, these kids would jump out of their skin. So that's the Bud Scream.
They still
Halloween.
talk to their therapist about that, believe it or not.
I can't take it anymore. So, Bud used to scare children on Halloween, and I used to rip him about that. How do you do scaring children? What is wrong with you, man? And he's like, it's fun. So Bud gets a kick out of some weird things. And that was one of the
That's
weird
for sure.
things. Right, so there you go. We finally got through it. It took 3 shows, but we finally got through all the lyrics of We Didn't Start the Fire, the Manchild Show with Boy Green / Bud and the Manchild version. Like I said, in a couple days, we'll post that on the site for you to listen to anytime you want. And it is the wonderful Bill Ali on the vocals and on the production. So thank Bill again for doing that wonderful, wonderful production on our behalf. So fantastic stuff. And you'll get to click on that anytime you want. Okay. Nice little clickbaity kind of thing on our digital site at MC Show Digital, again, our YouTube channel. So we'll put it there for you. All right. So there we go. We're done with the song. We're done talking about the Knicks. We're done with the NFL. Boy Green, we've gone pretty long today, coming up on 2 hours. So, all right. Final thoughts, if you have any. They're yours.
Yeah, again, I just want to thank everybody. I've probably been saying this a couple of times over the last 2 weeks as we've made the transition from being a audio-only radio show for the majority of those 23 years with a small stint of cameras in studio to now being fully embraced in the digital pool, diving into the deep end. I want to thank all the commenters throughout the show. I've seen so many of Hep and Badshaw and Rico the Pup and so many other people. I'm trying to give everyone a shout out. Philly Noodles, big Islander fan, Stephen Fox. I mean, all of you guys. Brian, our intern, what's up, gentlemen? Brian DeMuro, who is in here.
Hey, Brian! What's up?
I mean, Dade County McFly, so many of you guys, we appreciate it. We'll continue to get you guys involved with phone calls and other things here in the near future. But thanks for embracing both of us here in this new venture for the radio show, now digital show. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a blast, and we're just getting started. Like I said, great week for content. We won't be live with you the rest of this week unless something big breaks. I'm actually headed down to New York City. My mom is actually having a little heart operation, Boy Green. It's supposed to be routine, but my mother is 87 years old. So I'm going down to kind of be there and make sure everything goes well and to give her a ride back from the hospital back home. So I'm doing that this weekend. So I'll be down in New York City. I'll tell you what I will do. Sure. I will make an effort while I'm down there to cut a couple of shorts.
Nice.
I'm going to be moving around a little bit. I mean, while I'm going to be kind of helping take care of my mom, I'm also going to try and get in and see a few friends and stuff. I grew up in the New York City area in Queens. So as I'm out and about, I'll see if I can get a couple of cool shorts that I'll drop in and send along for people to take a look at. We did that when we were up in Pittsburgh with the Indians a couple of weeks ago. So that was a lot of fun. So I'll see what I can find in New York City that's interesting that I can get in front of and talk about. So that's coming this weekend. Great content coming up. Again, tomorrow at 11, Kevin Roy, the PGA golfer, just finished 3rd in the John Deere and is competing for a shot in the FedEx playoffs. Just one spot out right now of making the playoffs. He's got 4 more tournaments before they start playing in the playoff events for, I think, $15 million to the winner. Crazy money. But Kevin, as you'll find out in the interview, his goal is not to finish in the top 70, which would get him into the playoffs. He wants to finish in the top 50. And he was talking about it in our interview. So that's dropping tomorrow at 11. And then on Friday, all you New York Mets fans and your Syracuse Met fans, but you New York Met fans, get ready to hear all about the pipeline through Central New York, through the Syracuse Mets, how the players and what players are out there that you could see on the New York Mets before too long, including some players who are rehabbing, some players who have come down to try to find their stroke and their timing, and some up-and-coming pitchers. So that's all coming to you on Friday. So lots of good content coming, despite the fact that we won't be with you live. We will be dropping some really cool content. So again, if you do the old notifications, the little bell, then you will know when we're dropping content, and you will find that out. All right. I guess that's it for me, Boy Green. You good?
Yeah. Yeah, I am good. So yes, as Lerch said, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the content, whether it's live or pre-recorded. So that is where you can find it at MC Show Digital for the full Monty there.
All right,
so enjoy.
Fantastic. All right. We'll see you all live again on Monday at 11. But don't forget about the stuff that we're dropping later this week. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Pass it along to your friends at MC Show Digital. Peace out, everybody.